Some people don't break in one big moment. They break slowly. A little more stress each day, a little more overthinking each night, a few more moments where they stay silent when they should speak, or speak when they should stay silent. And one day, they look in the mirror and barely recognize the person staring back, not because life destroyed them, but because life kept pulling at them, and they never learned how to stand still inside themselves. If that feels familiar, then stay with me, because becoming stronger, wiser, and calmer isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to the part of you that life made you forget. There's a kind of tiredness sleep can't fix. You know that feeling. Your body is fine, but your mind won't stop moving. You replay old conversations. You imagine future problems. You carry the weight of things people said days, weeks, even years ago. A small moment of disrespect ruins your whole evening. One mistake at work makes you question your worth. One person's silence makes you wonder if you did something wrong. And the strange part is, most people live like this every day. Always reacting, always chasing peace, always waiting for life to finally become easy. But here's the truth. Peace doesn't come when life becomes quiet. Peace comes when you become stronger than the noise. That's where everything changes. Think about the strongest people you know, not the loudest, not the richest, not the ones who always win. The truly strong ones have something different. They stay steady. When others panic, they breathe. When others argue, they choose their words. When life hits them hard, they bend, but they don't break. That kind of strength isn't luck. It's built. Usually in the hardest seasons of life. Maybe like the season you're in right now. Maybe you're carrying pressure nobody sees. Trying to stay kind while people test your patience. Trying to stay hopeful while life feels unfair. Trying to keep going when your heart is tired. This is where most people become bitter. But this can also be the moment you become wise. There's a story about a man who lost his job after giving years of his life to one company. He walked out of the office with a box in his hands and a storm in his chest. At first, all he could think was, "Why me?" He felt embarrassed, angry, scared. For days, he replayed the moment over and over. The meeting, the faces, the short explanation, the quiet drive home. But after a while, something changed. He realized the pain wasn't only from losing the job, it was from the story he kept telling himself about it. He told himself it meant he wasn't valuable, that he failed, that life was against him. But none of that was the truth. The event was real, the meaning was optional, and most people don't realize this. A huge part of suffering comes not from what happened, but from what we add to what happened. This is one of the deepest mindset shifts you can ever learn. Life gives you facts. Your mind adds fear. Life gives you a problem. Your mind turns it into identity. You fail once, and suddenly you call yourself a failure. Someone ignores your message, and suddenly you think nobody cares. One bad day becomes, "My life is falling apart." But it's not the event, it's the story. And this is where strength begins. The moment you separate what happened from what your mind is saying about what happened, that pause changes everything. A friend snaps at you in the morning. The old version of you carries it all day. You replay it during lunch. You bring it home at night. Now, one moment has stolen your peace for 12 hours. But the stronger version of you stops and thinks, maybe they're hurting. Maybe it's not about me. Maybe this moment doesn't deserve my whole day. That's wisdom, not reacting to every feeling like it's the truth. A calm person understands something powerful. Not every thought deserves belief. Not every emotion deserves action. Let that sink in. Most suffering grows because people obey every emotion immediately. They feel angry, so they send the text. They feel insecure, so they beg for attention. They feel afraid, so they quit too early. But calm people create space, a breath, a pause, a moment, and in that space, they regain control. There's a woman who used to argue with her family almost every week. Small comments would turn into big fights. A simple misunderstanding at dinner became days of silence. She always felt justified in the moment, but later, alone in her room, she realized something painful. It wasn't the words that caused most of the damage. It was her need to react instantly. So she changed one habit. When she felt anger rising, she stopped answering right away. She would go wash dishes, take a short walk, sit in silence for 5 minutes. At first it felt impossible. Her mind screamed, "Say something now!" But after a few weeks, the fights became smaller, then rarer, then almost gone. Nothing outside changed. She changed. That's real power, not controlling others, controlling your response. And here's the truth most people miss. Calmness is not weakness. It's trained strength. Anyone can explode. Anyone can blame. Anyone can lose control. But staying centered when emotions rise, that's rare. That's mastery. And this is where things get even deeper. A lot of stress comes from trying to control things that were never ours to control. Other people's opinions, other people's moods, timing, results, the past, the future. People exhaust themselves fighting reality. They want people to understand them perfectly. They want life to move faster. They want the past to be different. And because reality refuses to obey, they suffer. But wisdom begins when you ask one simple question. Is this actually in my hands? If the answer is no, let it go. And not because it doesn't matter, but because your energy is too valuable to waste. A student once failed an exam he studied hard for. He sat alone afterward, crushed. His mind kept spiraling. What will people think? What if I never succeed? What if this ruins everything? But here's what changed his life. His mentor told him, the result is over, but your response is still in your hands. That one sentence stayed with him. He couldn't change the grade, but he could learn, adjust, try again, grow stronger. Failure stopped being a wall. It became training. And this is the mindset that makes people unstoppable. They stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? That question turns pain into wisdom, loss into maturity, pressure into strength. Short line here. This is how ordinary people become unshakable, not by avoiding hard moments, by using them. Around this point in life, many people hit an invisible wall. They become tired of being disappointed, tired of trusting too quickly, tired of expecting life to be fair. And something dangerous happens. They either harden into bitterness or soften into wisdom. This is your turning point. Bitterness says, the world hurt me, so I'll close my heart. Wisdom says, the world taught me, so I'll open my eyes. One makes you cold, the other makes you clear. And this is the middle of the journey where most people give up. Because growth doesn't always feel good. Sometimes becoming stronger feels like loneliness, like saying no when others expect yes, like walking away from chaos, like losing people who only love the old, weaker version of you. That part hurts. But here's the truth. Not everyone is meant to grow with you. Some people only fit the version of you that kept abandoning yourself. The calmer you become, the more clearly you see who brings peace and who brings storms. And that clarity is a gift. There's a man who spent years trying to make everyone like him. At work, he never said no. With friends, he laughed at things that hurt him. In relationships, he stayed too long where he wasn't respected. He thought being liked meant being safe, but it only made him exhausted. One day, after yet another moment where someone crossed a line, he finally said something simple. That doesn't work for me. No anger, no speech, just truth. And the world didn't end. In fact, his life got quieter, better, because strength often looks like simple honesty. Clear boundaries, calm words, no guilt. Most people don't realize how much peace they lose by betraying themselves. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you stay silent to avoid discomfort, every time you shrink to keep others comfortable, you teach yourself that your peace comes second. A wiser life begins when your inner world matters too. And this is where calmness becomes identity. Not something you do once, something you become. You stop rushing to prove yourself. You stop needing the last word. You stop chasing validation from people who are confused themselves. You become rooted, a tree in a storm. Still moving, still alive, but deeply grounded. Life will still test you. People will still misunderstand you. Plans will still fail. Unexpected pain will still arrive. But now, instead of collapsing, you meet life differently, with patience, with perspective, with quiet confidence. Because true strength is not a life without problems. It's a mind that no longer panics at every problem. Remember this: your peace is built in small moments. The moment you don't answer the disrespectful text, the moment you accept what you can't change, the moment you keep your dignity in the argument, the moment you begin again after failure, the moment you stop making your worth depend on outcomes. Small moments, repeated daily, that's how people become powerful. Not overnight, but choice by choice, thought by thought, response by response. And one day, you notice something beautiful. The things that used to shake you no longer do. The comment that once ruined your day now barely touches you. The delay that once made you panic now feels manageable. The rejection that once broke your confidence now feels like direction. That's growth. Quiet growth. The kind nobody claps for. But it changes your whole life. So if life feels heavy right now, don't mistake pressure for punishment. Sometimes pressure is simply life teaching you how strong you really are. You're learning how to carry yourself, how to trust your mind, how to guard your peace, how to stand steady in uncertain times. And this journey, becoming stronger, wiser, and calmer, isn't about perfection. You'll still have bad days. You'll still overthink sometimes. You'll still feel hurt. But now, you'll recover faster. You'll return to yourself sooner. That's what real growth looks like. Not never falling, falling without forgetting who you are. So the next time life tests your patience, your pride, or your peace, pause. Take the breath. Choose the wiser thought. Protect your energy. Trust the lesson. Because every hard moment is giving you a choice. Become reactive or become powerful. And deep down, I think you already know which person you're becoming. Someone calmer, someone clearer, someone stronger than the noise. Hold on to that. Because the world doesn't need more people who react. It needs more people who remain steady. More people who think clearly, more people who lead themselves, more people who turn pain into wisdom. Be one of them. And if this spoke to something real inside you, consider subscribing, not for motivation that fades tomorrow, but for the kind of strength that stays with you when life gets hard.